I want to tell you about Bobby. Bobby was a special education boy. He was just bright enough to remain in a regular classroom, but was still noticeably different. He unfortunately was the constant butt of jokes by his classmates, but he never seemed to mind. Every day, as the neighborhood kids walked home from school, Bobby's mom would look out the window and see him out there behind everybody else. Everyone else was laughing and joking all together, all except Bobby. Bobby was always walking by himself behind everyone else. It was obvious that the other children felt uncomfortable around him and kind of shunned him, didn't do much or of anything with him. Well, one day, Bobby burst into the kitchen after school. "Mom, guess what?" he said. "Valentine's Day is 2 weeks away, and our teacher said we could make Valentines and give them to the other kids in our class." Well, his mother's heart kind of sank because what she was picturing was yet another opportunity for Bobby to be excluded from what everybody else was doing. "Mom," Bobby continued, "I'm going to make a Valentine for every person in my class." "Well, that's very nice, Bobby," his mother answered, fighting back the tears. Well, over the next 2 weeks, Bobby worked every afternoon on those Valentines. They really were a labor of love by him. And when the big day finally came, he was so excited about taking his Valentines to school that he couldn't even eat breakfast. But he was also just a little bit worried. "I hope I didn't forget anybody," he said as he dashed off to school. And Bobby's mom made a fresh batch of his favorite cookies and prepared herself to comfort her son when he returned home brokenhearted after school and the Valentine exchange. She knew how disappointed he would be with the response he got from the other children. Well, that afternoon, she saw the same cluster of neighborhood kids walking home together, and a half a block behind them, all alone, was Bobby. So his mom turned around and placed a plate of cookies on the table. But much to her surprise, Bobby came through the door with a huge smile on his face. "What is it, Bobby?" she asked. "How did it go?" Well, with a shout of pure joy, Bobby said, "Guess what, Mom? I didn't forget a single kid." You see, Bobby was so focused on giving that he didn't even consider the response he would get. He was so concerned about others that he was blind to the fact that he was being overlooked by everybody else. Sometimes when we give, our motive is to make people think that we're wonderful or to prompt others to give something in return. But that's not what God taught us. And that's not what Jesus modeled. See, Jesus gave his life for us, knowing that most people would not receive him, that man would love darkness rather than light, and that he would be rejected. But he had love for us that we can't even fully understand. It was unconditional, it was unselfish, and it was given with no strings attached. We all know John 3:16 that says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son." Not because we were going to return that love, not because we were going to respond the way we ought to, but just because he loved and chose to give. Foul, foul, intentional misrepresentation and hiding of the identity. You are disqualified from the game. So, why was I wearing the cape and hood? Well, in part just to be silly and goofy and look kind of dumb, because that's always a little funny. But also because I want us to realize and understand that there are people that we don't pay attention to. There are people that don't get noticed by a lot of the majority of everyone else. There are teenagers that kind of live on the sidelines. They kind of live in the background. I think of them as peripheral kids or hidden teenagers. They are teenagers that don't get included in all the things that seem like everybody else does. They don't have a group that calls to them and expects them to be with them when they're laughing and joking and having a good time. And we need to be thinking of these teens. See, we need to focus more often on what we can do for others without expecting anything in return, like the story about Bobby. I think one of the greatest gifts that we can give, one of the greatest gifts of love that we can give, is to identify those individuals who are overlooked by others, ignored by a lot of people, and seldom invited or included in the groups that gather and do things and talk. Think about it. Who have you reached out to lately? Who have you recognized and acknowledged? Who have you done something for that was special, who maybe doesn't get special things done for them? I want to suggest to all of us that we look to do something special for an individual we don't normally pay attention to. For there are far too many of these hidden teenagers who just aren't included and don't get the same opportunities because people don't think of them. People ignore them. People overlook them. And my challenge, especially to the Richfield Life Ministries teenagers that know Jesus Christ and want to live for him, is that you take time to notice the hidden youth and show God's love while you have these extra days, this extra time. This is a great time for you to be able to invest in doing something thoughtful for others, something that maybe there are kids that don't get the attention, don't get the communication, don't get the thoughts from others. And this is a good time for you to be thinking of them and be looking for ways to help them. With that in mind, let me give you some of the suggestions that I have for today. Yesterday I gave you 5. I'm going to give you 5 more today. Things that I would just encourage you to consider doing with your extra time. This time that you have, this 2 weeks of, unexpected vacation. Here's the first one. Write some notes to people. Make some handwritten notes. Don't go to your social media and write things to people and message people. Instead, write something out. Tell someone that you appreciate them, or that you're thinking of them, and that you care about them, and you hope they're doing well, and you want to wish them God's best. Just take the time to do what most of us don't do nowadays. Most of us don't write personal notes and send them in the mail or take them to somebody and hand them to them. But I would encourage you to write some notes, even to someone you don't know well, but you realize that they could maybe use some encouragement. Here's an idea that goes along with it. Goes along with that. I'm just including it with it. You can just get a greeting card, and with a greeting card, you really don't have to write much. Pretty much, you can write the person's name, tell them you are thinking of them, and you hope they're doing well, and let the greeting card say the rest. So there's the first idea. Make a handwritten note to somebody and send it to them, especially someone that maybe doesn't get so many things like that. Second idea, second suggestion today. make some cookies or a cake or a cupcake or brownies or something like that. Some of you are really good at baking things. Make something like that and take it to somebody, or send it to somebody, or do something really cool like, leave it on the doorstep and then ditch, ring the doorbell and ditch and leave it with a note saying this is for Charlie, this is for Susie, this is for whoever it is. Some of you are really good at baking, and you like it, so that would be a good thing to do. Take the time to do that and give it to somebody else. My third suggestion today is that you do some random acts of kindness for neighbors. Look around your neighborhood. There's got to be plenty of things that you can find that could be done that would be a nice deed to enact for somebody. Something really thoughtful and considerate that maybe one of your neighbors needs. Maybe they need help with something and you've known about it and you haven't even thought, hey, I could help them, but you know they need help with this. Go help them. Do a random act of kindness, not something you've planned and figured out before, but just go and find something that your neighbors need and do it for them. My fourth idea is to pick up trash or pick up leaves in a local park. Now, if you live in Richfield, I think there's only the one park. I'm not aware of any others, just the one. But wherever you live, whether it's here in Richfield or outside of Richfield, find public lands, find a place where there's trash that needs to be picked up, leaves that maybe can be picked up, things like that, and go do a good deed by cleaning up. My last suggestion today is make some kind of a craft to give someone else. A lot of you are really good with crafts, and a lot of you really enjoy doing crafts. So take this extra time, make a craft, and give it to somebody else, somebody that could really use the encouragement. I want to close today by sharing a little story with you. But before I do, I just want to remind you that the church council has decided that none of our buildings are going to be used during this time. So until further notice, we can't gather here. We can't do anything here. But if you want to get together and maybe play some games over at my house, let me know. See if we can get a group together to play some games. Or if you want to do something like go get takeout at Cruisers, we can go over to Cruisers, get takeout, and sit outside and eat together and just talk and just catch up and see what's going on. So let me know if you're up for something like that. And I'll let you know that we are considering going ahead and having life groups over at the Leitzel's. So those of you that are part of life groups, don't forget to do your book work on 2 Peter, and we'll let you know if we're going to meet. Now, let me tell you about little Jason. Jason was visiting his grandparents, and he went into where his grandpa was, he was busy studying and working on something very, very intensely, working on something. And Jason took this peach in and gave it to him. And he said something to Grandpa, but Grandpa really didn't understand him. And then just figured, oh, I guess, my wife was sending me a snack to eat. So he took the peach and he ate it. And while he was finishing the last bite, Jason kind of came to him with his lip quivering, and he said, Papa, I didn't want you to eat it. All I wanted was for you to get the worm out of it for me. Don't you love surprises? Maybe not one like that, but hey, we've got this surprise time. Let's trust the Lord with it. I want you to know that we can have confidence in him. Remember that he told us in Philippians to be anxious for nothing, but in everything with prayer and supplication, to let our requests be made known to God, and the peace of God that surpasses understanding will guard our hearts and our minds. I pray that for all of you. I pray that you're confident and you're trusting God and you're looking for his purposes in your life today and this week. So go out and do something in the name of Jesus Christ for someone else. And please know that you're cared for, you're loved, and we look forward to getting a chance to get together with you again soon. Take care. God bless you. Have a good evening. Bye.